The biography of Imam Ibn Khaldun. Abdul Rahman Ibn Khaldun, the 40th century social theorist from North Africa, was born on 1st Ramadan 732 Hijrah. He is considered as a pioneer and forerunner in the social science, historical philosophy, and early economic theory. He is one of those shining stars that contributed so richly to the understanding of civilization. In order for one to understand and appreciate his work, one must first understand his life. He received a traditional education that was typical of his family's rank and status. He learned first at the hands of his father, who was a scholarly person who was not involved in politics like his ancestor. He memorized the Quran by heart, learned grammar, jurisprudence, hadith, rhetoric, philology, and poetry. Ibn Khaldun's magnum opus, Al-Muqaddimah, or the Introduction, has influenced many scholars, including 70th century Ottoman historians, who used his theories to analyze the growth and decline of the Ottoman Empire. While in 19th centuries, Europe scholars acknowledged the significance of his work and consider Ibn Khaldun as one of the greatest philosophers of the Middle Age. Ibn Khaldun died on 25th of Ramadan 808 Hijrah. His contribution in the field of knowledge is highly appreciated, and his books are still being used as a source of reference until today.
Contribution of Ibn Khaldun. The contribution of Ibn Khaldun we can divide into few categories. Firstly, Ibn Khaldun is the founder of philosophy of history. Ibn Khaldun defines history as a record of information about human society, which is the changes that occur in human traits such as anger, barbarism, revolution, loyalty of friends, and rebellions that result in the formation of government, nation, and people. History and society is unity that has the same reality that relates to one another. Secondly is the engagement in social and political activities. He has held several positions and has served with several rulers in Northern Africa and in Andalusia. Many hold important positions such as the state secretary in the palace of Sultan Abu Ishaq bin Abi Yahya and Sultan Abu Annan. Thirdly is the Islamic science and thought field. He provides the best guidance to humans on the basis of the construction of a civilization. Scholars recognize his work as a study and reference material. His thoughts are often used as discourses, seminar themes, workshops, scientific trials, book titles, and in higher education. The last contribution is the father of Islamic economics. Ibn Khaldun is also known as the father of Islamic economics because of his thinking on logical and realistic economic theory. Ibn Khaldun has expressed some principle in economics philosophy as justice, hardworking, cooperation, simplicity, and fairness. He stressed that justice is the backbone and fundamental strength of an economy. Ibn Khaldun sees people as needing economic knowledge to fulfill their missions on the face of the earth.
Averos is the medieval taking form of RUSHD, derived from the Spanish pronunciation of the original Arabic.
Ibn Rushd was born in 1126 in Cordoba to a family with a long and well-respected tradition of legal and public service. He began his studies in hadith, fiqh, medicine, and theology. He learned Maliki jurisprudence under Al-Hafiz Abu Muhammad ibn Rizq and Hadith with Ibn Bashkwal, a student of his grandfather. His father also taught him about jurisprudence, including on Imam Malik. He studied medicine from Abu Ja'far Jarim at-Tajair, who probably taught him philosophy too. In 1169, he was appointed as Qadi in Sevilla. In 1171, he became Qadi in his hometown, Cordoba. As Qadi, his day-to-day job was to decide cases and give fatwas based on the Islamic law. After a few years, he returned to court in Morocco and was again in the Caliph's favor. However, he died shortly after, on 11 December 1198. He was initially buried in North Africa, but his body was later moved to Cordoba for another funeral.
Okay, to answer your question, I am very interested in Ibn Rushd for his contribution in philosophy to human science from the philosophical perspective. In the field of philosophy, Ibn Rushd is famous for his translation and detailed commentaries on the work of Aristotle, which earned for him the title of the commentator. The only exception was politics, which he did not have access to it. The commentaries were organized into three levels: the Jami', a simplified overview; the Talkhis, an intermediate commentary with more critical material; and the Tafsir, an advanced study of Aristotelian thought in a Muslim context. Many of his commentaries were translated into Hebrew and then into Latin in the 12th and 13th century. Besides the extant Arabian version of these works, several of those writings have survived only in Latin or Hebrew translation after the loss of the original Arabic version. In regards to Muslim philosophy, in his work Fas al-Maqal, or the Decisive Treatise, he stressed the importance of analytical thinking as a prerequisite to interpret the Quran. In this book, Fas al-Maqal, Ibn Rushd formulates a conception of philosophy which was in accordance with the Islamic teachings, as it was considered as a rational view of creation which leads to the knowledge of the Creator. Thus formulated, philosophy becomes a valid path for discovery of truth, which is also to be found in revealed texts. Okay, some of the Ibn Rushd quotes that I still remember and make it as my guidelines for my life. That is, ignorance leads to fear, fear leads to hurt, and hurt leads to violence. This is the equation. That is the first quote from Ibn Rushd. And the second is, knowledge is the conformity of the object and the intellect. So, that is my answer for your question.
Ibn Sina, or well known as Avicenna in West, was one of the most significant scholars of the Islamic Golden Age. Regarded as father of early modern medicine, his contribution covers almost every aspect of knowledge, from philosophy, astrology, and chemistry. Born in 980 in Afsana, a village near Bukhara, in present-day Uzbekistan, he began his journey in learning the Quran and memorized it by 10. Then he started learning the philosophy. Ibn Sina wrote extensively on early Islamic philosophy, especially the subject logic, ethics, and metaphysics, including Theresis' name, logic, and metaphysics. Also, his work written in Arabic and language of science in the Middle East, Islam and Persia. Ibn Sina's commentaries on Aristotle often criticize the philosopher, encourage a lively debate and the spirit of ijtihad. Avicenna's psychology and theory of knowledge influenced a lot of people, such as William of Auber, Bishop of Paris, and Albert of Magnus, while his metaphysics influenced the thought of Thomas Aquinas. Avicenna made an argument for the existence of God, which we know as the proof of the truthful. Avicenna argued that there must be a necessary existence, an entity that cannot not exist, and through a series of arguments, he identified the God of Islam. As the history of philosophy, the Avicenna called the one of the most influential arguments for God's existence, and Avicenna's biggest contribution to the history of philosophy.
Islam promoted the sciences from the inception. Our deen, our religion began with what? Iqra, recite. Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah did not send down a disease except that He sent down for it a cure. Whoever knows it, and whoever doesn't, doesn't. Meaning go look for it. So the likes of this is what spearheaded Islamic civilization, where their religion and their worldly life, they went hand in hand. And that's why you have, for example, in the 10th century, Avicenna, Ibn Sina. The Qanun, the canon of Ibn Sina, was the medical library in Europe for longer than any other book in history. In the 9th century, you have Al-Khwarizmi, the father of algebra. The Columbia History of the World says that modern trigonometry, algebra, and geometry are in considerable measure Arab creations. They mean Muslim creations. The 10th century, Al-Hazan. You may not know there's a crater on the moon that they call Al-Hazan. It was named after Al-Hazan, meaning Al-Hassan ibn al-Haytham. Why was it named after him? Because of his contributions to optics and his discussions on luminosity. And he vanguarded, he started the discussions on the experimental method. The House of Wisdom, Baytul Hikmah in Baghdad, centuries ago, that was the world's largest repository of books. No one valued books the way we did. There were more books in a street of Baghdad than there existed in cities in Europe. This is just a testimony that Islam can and has been able to maintain economies and ethics. Islam can and has balanced between materialism, this dunya, and spirituality, the spirit and the religion. Islam can and has ensured prosperity and happiness and peace in this world and salvation in the hereafter.